Hi, everybody. David Noor. I want to welcome you to a brand new year, brand new season of Intelligent Growth live stream and our podcast with my partner, Jenn Cords. Hello, Jenn.
Hi, Noor. How are you? Happy New Year.
Great. Thanks. Happy New Year to you as well. For our audience, I've always believed rolling rocks gather no moss. And by that, I mean it's a new year, a new season, and a great opportunity to try new things. I don't know about you. I get bored trying to do the same thing over and over again. And I'm always interested in how do I mix things up? How do we think about what we do and how we do it differently? And I don't know about you, but as evident by the number of spam emails that I'm getting this year already, I don't want to contribute to the noise. I don't want to keep just kind of throwing stuff out there to see what sticks. So Jenn and I have been talking about this format. How do we optimize it? How do we make it more efficient? How do we dial it in and really make it more impactful? So I've always believed, and I've coached a lot of leaders, to there's enormous value in brevity. So Jenn and I talk about this, and we chuckle at this all the time, of if you have $100, how do we use more $10 words and fewer $1 words? So value and brevity, get to the point. Let's be more concise. That's goal number one. So number one, from a formatting standpoint, we're going to take the hour that we've been doing for the last couple of seasons. We're going to make it 30 minutes. That means I'm actually going to have to stop talking, which is, it's a skill that we have to work on, right? Number two, we're going to do this 5 and 10. So there's 5 questions I'm really curious about, and Jenn and I will yin and yang and tag team answering those, hopefully give you nuggets. I love new tips and techniques and nuggets. And if you miss any of them, don't worry, which is we want to drive awareness for our Avnir Forum. It's our private online community. That's where we'll put the show notes. So if we share something and you miss it, just go to, again, avnir.forum.com or avnir.com/resources. That's another place to kind of get access to it. But that's where we'll post show notes from this session. The last piece of what we want to do, and really bulk of each episode, is doubling down. We want to double down on a topic, and Jenn's sharing, and I'll put those up as well. Some of these links that might be useful to you. We want to double down on a topic that is top of mind, topic that we're talking to other clients or colleagues about, topics that we believe is important to highlight. Either something has happened in the news or something that's come across our radar that we believe it's important to really emphasize. So Jenn, your thoughts on the new format, 30 minutes, 5 and 10, and doubling down.
I think it'll be a really fun experiment. I hope people get value out of it. And I think both of us are going to have to work on our own brevity. So this is a good training tool almost for ourselves as well.
Love it. And just for our audience, as we record this today, there's a massive storm in the Atlanta area where we live. So if any of the videos delay, just please forgive us. And we're going to try to get through with things that we don't have any control over. So here we go. 5 and 10. That's where we're going to kind of start. So that's the new format. Again, we're going to repurpose this live stream in the podcast, wherever you consume podcasts, and Avnir Forum. Again, the URL is right there, forum.avnir.com, to get show notes if you miss any of it. So, Jenn, here we go. Number one, new year. We've been off for a couple of weeks in terms of sharing live streams. What one goal helped you become the best version of yourself this past week? You go first.
Sure. So I have committed to something that I used to do a lot, which is called time blocking on my calendar, creating commitments to myself and treating them as if I would a meeting with a client or anybody else. And then beyond that, I've also gone back to a sort of mental training tool. It's called 75 Hard. Basically, it's you have certain tasks that you need to do every day and you stack those days on top of each other. If you miss one of those tasks, for example, like working out, you have to start over. And so you don't ever want to skip a day because you want that compound effect.
It drives consistency, huh?
It does. Yeah.
Love it.
What about you?
We've got tools. We've got great tools that's part of our tech stack. I've known about them. I've been not consistent in using them. So I'm really focused on 3 in particular. We use Salesforce for our kind of relationship management. GitLab, your background, and you brought that up for kind of tasks and open tickets. And then Monday.com we use for our project engagement. So you and I spent a lot of time over the holidays buttoning those down, and I'm committed to using them daily. So it's one thing to have tools, but if you don't commit to using them, we're not going to get anywhere. So we're going to move along. Number 2, what are you most excited about the week ahead?
Well, similar to what we've been focused on over the Christmas holiday, a lot of our clients, and I'm seeing a lot of conversation around optimization of processes. This time of year, a lot of organizations do try and kick off the year with a plan and cleaning up their systems if they didn't do it over the holidays, and try and actually get everybody on the same page to create that momentum as they get further into the year.
Yeah, I'm going to, many of you know from the Nor Group services side, we've decided to launch Avnir. This is our generative AI platform. I got a simulated demo, I think second week in December. And each week I'm reaching out to my relationships to kind of share the vision, share this demo. And I love the learning from it. So it's a fantastic opportunity to think in terms of hypotheses. Here's what I believe that pain to be prevalent and urgent and something they're willing to pay to solve. And then getting feedback from people about not just my own kind of myopic view, but what are they struggling with? What are their issues? What do they want to do differently? It's an invaluable experience, and I'm learning a ton, and we're capturing all kinds of insights as we kind of develop this and take this product to market. Next, what are you most concerned about?
I'm sure most people who've been on LinkedIn or do have anything to do with email know that Google and Yahoo are coming out with new parameters around spam, which is going to be great to cut down the spam that we have been receiving. But I'm really not sure from a business preparedness perspective that the systems and processes that organizations are leveraging are set up to be most effective to allow people to continue doing their job in the most effective manner. So that preparedness and that continual tech debt that a lot of organizations are not addressing is what I'm pretty concerned about still.
Yeah. So similarly, I'm a big believer that one of the biggest gifts we all have is one of time. And as I mentioned, I'm reaching out to my friends. I'm asking for their time and their expertise. I had a cup of coffee meeting with a fantastic executive kind of retained search friend that I've known for 15, 20 years. And I genuinely believe each one of those interactions is a gift. So I'm concerned when other people, then they're not listening. They're not actively engaged. And this thing, I got to tell you, is a huge culprit of distractions, because even if they're not on it, if it's around or it's on the table and it buzzes with notifications, or they glance at it, or you can tell. Oh, my favorite is, right? You're on a Zoom meeting with somebody and you kind of hear it in the background. It's like, is whatever else you're doing, and they might be taking notes, right? I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but is whatever else you're doing more important than this interaction? And by the way, you asked for this. So if you're going to want my time, which we're all pressed for, be respectful enough to be present, be in the moment, demonstrate to that relationship that's important. And I've seen more than once, whether they're founders or other executives I'm interacting with, they do this, they do this. This is one of my least favorites. They have a drink. I understand you need hydration, but their drink blocks their face, right? I'm like, can we find a better way to do that? We're missing out on these interaction opportunities. And what I want the audience to hear is you don't want to demonstrate anything less than gratitude for the gift of time that others share with you. So moving on to next one, we're rolling. We're rolling 5 and 10. One new tool or platform you're exploring.
Actually, David, you go first on this question.
On this one. I can't take credit for it. A good new friend, John Barrows of JB Sales. Highly recommend him. Great guy. He showed me and showed us Our Pro. And what Avnir Pro does, and I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see if I can share my screen and actually show. Let me share my screen and show our audience. Here we go. So there you go. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, so Avnir Pro, it's again a news feed. You come in here and you create, in essence, kind of lists. And here are my list. So past clients and top 50, AI top 50 that I'm setting up, and target accounts and consultants. And so what I want to see, and the reason this is important, is if I have a call coming up with any of these companies, imagine having not just their key events, but the latest news right at your disposal, and really reading what they're up to, reading what's going on with them, really understanding kind of what's happening. This all makes you, and the reason I want to share this with our audience is that this, I believe, makes you contextually relevant. So I am not getting on the next call trying to wing it. And the audience needs to hear this. The more seasoned you become, the more we all feel like we can wing it. And that's when a 2x4 is coming your way with a rusted nail in it. So stop winging it, little bit of due diligence, little bit of a hypothesis. Did I read you guys are doing this? What do you think about that? I think we'll go a long way. Over to you.
So similarly, it's a newer technology. Google just released Gemini, which is their most recent multimodal AI engine. And what that means in plain English is multimodal. It can consume text, images, videos, audio files, and it actually can generate natural language and human-like responses. It's in its earlier phases, but if you've done any work with ChatGPT or OpenAI or Bard, which are all AI engines, Google's Gemini is built similarly. It's just taking it one step further and now being able to digest and comprehend other methods of communication besides just text.
Love it. I've heard you talk about it. I'm fascinated by just seeing it in action. And most of us don't speak in code. So if I can speak in natural language and have it understand, it becomes invaluable. So moving on, another tip that I share with a lot of executives I coach, Jenn and I talk about this on a regular basis, is leaders are readers and readers are leaders. So Jenn, what one book would you recommend to our audience to look into?
So over the holidays, I bought Arnold Schwarzenegger's book. It's called Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life. I really loved this book just because it has some great stories. Everybody loves Arnold. Well, I shouldn't say everybody. Most everybody loves Arnold. He's done some really incredible things, from the immigrant story to being governor, and then his movies. But it also has really practical advice on goal settings and taking risks and finding your purpose and leaving a positive impact in the world. So I really just liked it, and it's a quick read, but it's a good read. What about you?
Mine is the Almanac of, I'm going to butcher this up, but Naval Ravikant. This is, and you can see my pen in it. I am one of those old school kind of active, I destroy books. I read them, I write all over them. And what I do is, again, I make the concepts either actionable for me, or that's interesting, or you know what, I'm genuinely curious. I want to look more into that topic. So I write all over my, some people are very polite with their books and they want to make sure they remain pristine. I'm not one of those. I earmark it, I write all over it, and
I'm not one of those either.
I travel with mine. So this poor book has got like coffee stains and chocolate snacks on it. But my point is I consume these and then I look for opportunities to make them actionable. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it, Naval does not like to be interviewed. And so this is actually written by Eric Jorgensen. Tim Ferriss did the forward to this. And it's a lot of tidbits. It's a lot of intellectual nuggets. It's a lot of same thing, actionable. You're never going to get rich renting out your time, right? Think of how many people we know rent out their time, right? So there's just a lot of intentionality. 99% of effort is wasted. how often, ever since we were kids, was driven into us, right? Work hard and put in the effort. And how much of that effort is wasted, right? So as I read this, I'm circling them. I'm productize yourself, right? I'm fascinated by some of these just nuggets that force you to think that I think might be really useful. So
Well,
we would love. I'm sorry.
I think the common thread, because I've read the almanac as well, and Be Useful by Arnold. I think what comes out of both of them is that it's not rocket science that they're talking about, but they may put a topic just in a different perspective that may make it click for you, the reader, and it becomes an aha moment. And you may have heard that same advice several times before, but just the way that they framed it could just resonate with you differently. So by reading books that have similar threads and themes to them, you can still learn a lot from them. And they will all mean something different to every reader.
Love it. Look at this. We got that done in 9 minutes, just under the radar, 5 and 10. So we'll do this, but would love your feedback. If this is useful to you, and if you missed any of them, again, forum.avnir.com. We'll put this list. We'll create links to them that you can go back, and any of it that might be useful to you. I full disclosure, during the holidays, I watch CBS Sunday Morning, and this is not an endorsement of any kind, but during the holidays, they have a segment called Techno Clause, where one of the reporters shares really interesting technology nuggets and tools. And I'm always like, how do I go find that list? So that's why we're bringing this up. We're going to share a lot of these nuggets. I would encourage you to check out forum.avnir.com for the complete list after this show. So we're going to switch gears from 5 and 10 to really a really important topic. And this one that I'm also writing a Forbes column, I'll probably reference or write a blog post about it, but it's really doubling down on trust. And the reason this is important, again, I'm going to share my screen, and I want to bring a recent event to kind of your attention that I think is important, that I think it's, and this is really important. Let me kind of set the stage. And I want to emphasize, this is not about shaming. This is, we all make mistakes. This is not about, all of us, all we have to do is look in the mirror, and we can see all of our blemishes, all of our mistakes, all the things that we've done wrong. So the goal of this segment is to highlight a misstep or two, and then really talk about what's happening here and really understand what can we learn from. My dad always drove into us that life's too short to make all the mistakes yourself. You have to learn from the experience of others. You have to learn the challenges from others. So what you're looking at, and let me set the stage, a company called Carta, C-A-R-T-A, is basically an equity management platform for a lot of startups. So my wife works for a startup. They're using Carta to manage employee stock options and cap tables for founders who go raise capital. And apparently there's some 40,000 users on this platform and 2,000 employees. And it's a Bay Area company and well known. And so we'll put this link. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And beyond that, they also recently, I don't want to say recently, maybe in the last few years, they opened up a marketplace. So not only are they the ones managing the options and shares for startups, but they have also become, or trying to become, a secondary market for those options and shares. So they're trying to serve a dual purpose in the startup world.
That's exactly right. And that's why, again, really important for us to highlight kind of what we're sharing here. So we'll put a link to this post, but it turns out that the synopsis is a CEO founder of a company started to highlight his concerns about an email that one of his investors had gotten from it sounds like a sales rep from within Carta, and specifically their marketplace, offering secondary offerings. And just to clarify, let's say I have a group of investors, and imagine, and this is private information, right? This is confidential information. And somebody reaches out to them and offers them shares in, Jenn is a founder of another company, in her company. And it's just like, again, I'm a huge believer of look for net new growth opportunities, but there's ethical and there's integrity involved, and there's the right way and the wrong way to do something. And as we'll talk about, most of our audience understands trust takes years to build, and only seconds or only just a couple of missteps to just completely dilute, if not destroy. So as you read through this post, this CEO is just coming to the table with, look, this has happened. I'm wondering who else has experienced this. And he didn't do it just publicly to, and people who know him have verified this, that didn't do it to increase his own exposure or create more awareness for his own brand. But it reaches out, and then suddenly, and he has meetings, and he lays out what's happening. And now here comes the Carta CEO. And this is the disconcerting part, that, hey, we're still investigating this. It might be just an employee that's gone rogue, and we've got an internal procedure, and he went out of bounds, and it sounds fine. So now that same CEO who started this conversation says, look, this looks like it's more than just an isolated incident. This has happened before. And here's where it starts to go literally off the rails, because the Carta CEO starts berating this customer and starts just like, contact me directly. They do have a conversation, and then it just goes again off the rails, and it starts to really go kind of, in a less than a positive way. And that's really what I want to highlight, is not just the broken trust, and we'll talk more about this in a second, but the CEO really going about it the wrong way. Instead of demonstrating humility, instead of authentically and genuinely apologizing, instead of looking for ways to proactively re-earn that trust, he just starts to berate this customer in a public forum, and that just never goes well. Jen, your comments before I share a couple of other things.
Yeah, I mean, how any company responds to this type of concern, especially in the world of social media, demonstrates not only their willingness to be transparent and take feedback and criticism, but also their culture. Like this is indicative of their actual internal culture. And reading through several of the articles that have been posted, the CEO of Carta also wrote a very large post about this incident on his Medium platform. And what I found in a lot of the posts that were coming from the Carta team is that there's lack of ownership. They're deferring, or they're pointing fingers, or they're being very vague and ambiguous. And one of the things that I've appreciated most about several of the startups that I've done work for is transparency is one of their core values, and they work intentionally in the open. So there is not a question about what's happening and when. Obviously, customer data and things like that is kept private, but how is that data handled is very clearly written out in plain English of what is happening with my data, who has access to it, and things like that. The other thing that jumped out at me is there's lack of internal controls. If a frontline team member was able to circumvent some level of security in your systems, that means your IT or your operations team isn't doing their job effectively enough to have those nefarious people inside the company being able to get access to it. What does that mean for somebody external to the company? Does that mean that your data could have been breached from the outside versus from the inside?
So it's important. And again, search trust, and you'll find literally millions of articles and countless books. Try it on Amazon. You'll find all kinds of stuff written about it. And yet I've always believed trust-like relationships has got to be something that is felt. You can't just say, and I actually coach people, stop saying trust me. Because you know what? Most people don't. Most people are going to be suspicious at best. So what has to happen is they have to feel it. They have to experience it. So I'm always curious of what does that look like? And so I thought about, and again, we'll share this in the forum, key attributes of trust is a unquestionable integrity, that we're going to act fairly and honestly. Competence, right? You got to have the necessary skills to deliver on that commitment. Here's one that's very relevant here: consistency. Do we have, as Jen mentioned, a set of procedures and policies to demonstrate a consistent manner in which we do what we do? Openness and transparency. Listen, we screwed up. It's not, if you don't screw up, newsflash, you're not human. It's not that you screwed up. It's what you choose to do with it after the fact. Listen, we screwed up. I don't have an excuse. Let me go fix it. Let's figure out how to get to the bottom of this. So again, there's some key attributes of it, but here's what I found. And just to, again, build on Jen's comment, companies that dilute or destroy their trust with their customers. Number one, unequivocally, lack of transparency. Opaqueness is where cockroaches grow. It's dark, it's warm, it's hidden, it's shine a light on it. Transparency is all about, right? How do we ensure our policies, our change of service, our pricing? How do we handle customer data? Is what you see is what you get. Two, poor communication, non-existing communication. Jen and I have had some really fun conversations about this. When there's lack of information, people make things up. Did I tell you that company's going out of business? Well, how do you know? I haven't heard from them. Well, it's because there's been, again, lack of or poor communication. Compromising customer data, right? I love Dave Kellogg from the Bay Area. I briefly heard him present at SaaStr. Says, please hire an SVP of corporate communication and listen to them. This was directed at the Carta CEO. Inconsistent quality and service, unethical practices. Let me know if any of this is resonating with this topic.
Well, and one of the other things that came out of a lot of this is that Carta is trying to say it's an isolated incident. And when they're presented with evidence that it's not isolated, they're still trying to brush it under the rug instead of owning it and saying, okay, maybe let's take a deeper look and examine what's happening to find where all the breaches are, and then be honest about it. Of, yes, we had X number of cap tables accessed inappropriately or whatever the case may be. But instead of owning it and trying to actually find the root cause, they're just, I don't know what you're talking about. You're making things up when it's documented evidence.
And I'm appalled by this, right? So this is the CEO of this company, right? He opens it up. Thank you for understanding. We screwed up, right? And I hope you'll forgive us. And if you stop there, sometimes you need to put something in your mouth so you'll stop talking, because the more he types, the more he digs himself a hole, right? You read this, and I'm telling you, it sounds like it's about to become a murder mystery novel, right? Did you, why are you calling for the fall of Carta, right? Spartacus. And by the way, notice you didn't. Are you trying to just gain visibility? And look at, I love the responses, right? Because we can't all be wrong. You're doing it wrong, right? Dave Kellogg, right? It starts to get really, people are just commenting on, and I don't care about people that troll, but look at how many people look, this is a horrible response. We don't understand your reply. Take the high road and just fix it and move on. And he just keeps digging himself. This CEO does in this scenario. And so what I want people to really think about is, what can we take away? So I want to shift. And again, we'll share a link to that. Read it on your own terms when you get a chance. But I think this is a business case of what not to do. So let me give you some, and Jen, I'd love your comments on this, but I want to give the audience, as we wrap up, some tips to think about if you, in fact, hopefully unintentionally, if you dilute or destroy trust. Acknowledge the issue and apologize. Number one, apologize. Please forgive me. I am sorry. We made a mistake. And you have to mean it. Two, transparency.
Hold on, before you move on from that one, in that apology, don't then go and make an excuse. Apologize, period, end of sentence, full stop.
People don't care about excuses. Right? Number two, transparent communication. Here's what we're doing about it. Here's how we're going to avoid this in the future. Keep it simple. Nobody needs to read War and Peace. Here's the 5 steps we're taking to ensure this never happens again. Take corrective action. You can't just say, here's what we're doing. People need to see it. People need to experience it. People need to see that you are genuinely apologetic and you mean it. Elevate the customer service, customer experience. Engage with the customers and gather the feedback. Never, ever have that discussion, have that interaction in a public forum. It's just, nothing goes well when you bring out really ugly laundry out in the market like that. It just catches, if it was a spark, think of it as fuel that is then fanned, that will burn the house down. And that's what causes all kinds of problems.
I'm not going to disagree, but I would almost say that if the conversation is already in the public forum, trying to take it offline and then not circling back to the public forum to provide an update is then going to look a little shady. And so you want to be, it goes back to the transparent one. And so, yes, take the airing of the dirty laundry, all of the complaints, all of the concerns, things like that, take that conversation offline. But then I would recommend circling back to whatever public forum it started in and provide a genuine, fully transparent update of this is the conversation we had, not the nitty gritty, and allow the public forum to see the progress being made. Otherwise, it's going to look questionable.
Great point, and I'm gonna echo that. Come back and hey, delighted that we got it resolved. So grateful for you as a customer. For our other customers, click here to read what we've done here, right? How we're addressing this. So we would love to hear. That's it. That's it for today. Look at this, 31 minutes. I'm gonna finish this up. We're focused on getting this done in a timely way. That's it for today. We'd love to hear from you. Would love to hear, wherever you want to comment, the new format. Do you like the shorter? Do you find value in 5 and 10? 5 questions Jenn and I will go back and forth on each week, and then doubling down on a topic. We also hope you'll come to, again, there's the URL, forum.avnir.com. Come join us. We'll post what we shared. We'll post links. We'll post screenshots. But mark your calendar, each Tuesday at noon Eastern, we'll come back with a new episode, new topic. We'll highlight other areas we believe this year you need to double down on. And we really hope this is of interest and value to you, and would love to hear from you. Jenn, closing comments?
Well, we hope the nuggets were valuable, and then also just pick up either of the 2 books that we recommended because they're both really good and they'll also help set your year up for success.
Sounds great. On behalf of Jenn Cords, I'm David Noor. Thanks for joining us for Intelligent Growth, personal growth, team growth, enterprise growth, professional growth. We're all about seeing the best version of you emerge from all that we do. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.